The marketplace on the mining moon was always loud, crowded, and full of strange smells, but that evening it felt different. The air was heavier, the lights were dimmer, and everyone walked faster than normal. Jace Rowan, a tired human mechanic, pushed through the crowd after finishing a long 16-hour shift. His hands were covered in engine grease, and his eyes were burning from lack of sleep. He just wanted food and a quiet place to sit. But then he heard a sound that didn't match the noise around him. It was soft, tiny, weak, like a leaf shaking in the wind. Jace slowed down and turned his head. Standing near the corner of a broken vendor stall was a small alien girl. She looked no older than 8 years. Her clothes were dusty, her hair was tangled, and her skin had turned pale blue instead of the healthy bright color her species normally had. She held 2 small toys in her hands. One was cracked, one was missing a piece. Her eyes were large and shining with fear. She stepped closer and whispered in a trembling voice, "Take my toys, human. Please, I need money to buy medicine for my mother." Jace froze. He had seen hungry workers, sick miners, and injured travelers. But this girl looked different. Her whole body was shaking, not from cold, but from fear. She kept looking behind her, checking the shadows like someone was following her. Jace slowly crouched to her level. "Where is your mother?" he asked gently. The girl hugged the broken toys to her chest, her lips trembling. "She is very sick. She can't move. I need medicine. I will sell anything, please." Her voice cracked, and Jace felt something painful in his chest. No child should beg like this, but before he could say another word, a piercing alarm echoed through the entire market. Lights flashed red, vendors grabbed their goods. Parents pulled children away, everyone started running toward the exit tunnels. Jace turned around in shock. "What's happening?" A shopkeeper shouted as he ran by, "Security sweep. Hide or run, human. They're searching for someone dangerous." People pushed past each other, stalls closed, metal doors slammed shut. The ground vibrated slightly as heavy boots approached from a distance. Panic filled the air. But the girl didn't move. She didn't run. She just stood there holding her toys, her eyes filled with tears, her legs shaking like they couldn't support her anymore. Jace stared at her, confused and worried. "Why aren't you running? You need to hide." She looked up at him, her voice barely a whisper. "They're searching for us." Jace felt the hairs on his neck rise. "Us? Why? You didn't do anything." The girl swallowed hard, her breathing uneven. "They don't want my mother alive. She saw something she shouldn't. They say we are trouble." This made everything more dangerous, more urgent. The alarm wasn't random. It was meant to find her. Jace took a deep breath, fighting the fear climbing inside him. He knew helping her was risky, but leaving her alone felt wrong. He extended his hand. "Come with me. I will help you." The girl hesitated, searching his face as if trying to decide if humans could be trusted. Then she placed her tiny shaking hand in his. "Thank you. Thank you, human." The crowd around them thinned fast as the security squads marched closer. Jace pulled the girl into a narrow alley between 2 metal buildings. The ground was wet, the lights flickered, and the sound of heavy armor grew louder. "Where is your mother?" Jace whispered as they crouched behind old crates. The girl pointed toward a dark tunnel. "There. In the storage room. She is too weak to walk." Jace peeked out of the alley. 3 armored guards walked past, scanning with bright blue sensors, their weapons hanging ready. If they found the girl, she wouldn't survive. Jace wasn't sure why, but he knew he couldn't let that happen. He turned back to the girl and nodded. "We need to move now." She tightened her grip on her toys, even though they were worthless. Maybe they were the last thing she had left from her old life. Together, they ran through the dark tunnel, each step echoing, each breath heavy. Jace could feel the tension growing, as if the walls themselves were watching them. As they reached the end of the tunnel, the girl whispered, "Please hurry, human. My mother doesn't have much time." And in that moment, Jace understood something. This wasn't just a sick woman and her child. This was the start of something much bigger, something dangerous, something that would change his life forever. The tunnel felt colder as Jace and the little alien girl moved deeper inside. The lights overhead flickered weakly, and the air smelled of metal, dust, and old machinery. The girl held Jace's hand tightly, her small fingers trembling from fear and exhaustion. "We are close," she whispered, her voice thin and tired. Jace nodded and followed her through a half-broken door leading into a forgotten storage area. The room was dark, except for a single damaged lamp glowing on the floor. Broken crates were stacked everywhere, and the walls were covered with rust. But Jace didn't need light to see what mattered most. At the far corner of the room, lying on a pile of old blankets, was the girl's mother. The woman's skin was pale and cracked. Her eyes were closed, her breathing shallow and uneven. Sweat covered her forehead, and her chest rose and fell in sharp, painful motions. She looked as if she had not eaten in days. The girl dropped her toys and rushed to her mother's side. "Mama, I found help. A human helped me." Jace slowly walked closer. Kneeling beside the woman, he had seen many injured workers before. Burn wounds, crushed hands, broken bones. But this was different. This woman looked like she was fighting death itself. "What happened to her?" Jace asked softly. The girl wiped her tears and spoke with a shaky voice. "She worked in the crystal mine. But the air there is poisoned. It makes the lungs stop working. The medicine is expensive. We have no money." Jace looked around the room again, noticing empty water containers, torn clothes, and a small pile of food crumbs. It was obvious they had been hiding here for weeks, alone and afraid. He placed his hand near the woman's neck to check her pulse. It was weak, too weak. "She needs a doctor," he said. "She needs real treatment." The girl shook her head quickly, her eyes wide with fear. "No. No clinic. They will find us. They will take her away. They want her gone." Jace felt confusion twist inside him. Why would they want her dead? "She's just a minor." The girl lowered her head, silent for a long moment, then whispered, "Mama saw something. Something she should not see. Now they want to silence her." Jace felt a heavy chill crawl down his spine. This was bigger than sickness, bigger than poverty. It was danger tied to secrets he didn't understand yet. Before he could ask more, the woman's eyes slowly opened just a little. She looked at Jace with pain and fear, her voice barely a breath. "You, human, why are you here? It is not safe. Leave before they come." Jace leaned closer. "I'm here to help," the woman coughed. A weak and painful sound, her entire body trembling. The girl quickly held her mother's hand and cried softly, "Mama, please don't talk. Save your strength." The woman tried to sit up but collapsed back onto the blankets, her voice fading. "They will search. They will not stop. You must take my daughter away. Save her. She must live." Jace felt something sharp inside his chest. The mother wasn't thinking about herself. Only her child, but he couldn't just abandon her. Not when she was suffering like this. Suddenly, footsteps echoed in the tunnel outside, heavy, metallic, methodical. Jace's blood turned cold. Someone was coming. The girl gasped and pulled Jace's sleeve. "It's them. They found us." Jace quickly moved toward the doorway. Peeking through the gap, he saw shadows on the wall, tall figures. Armored, carrying bright scanning lights, they were searching the rooms one by one. "We don't have time," Jace whispered. His mind racing, he lifted the woman gently. She cried softly from the pain but held onto his arm. "We need to take her somewhere safe," he said. "Do you know a place?" The girl nodded through her tears. "Yes. An old cargo lift. No one goes there. It is hidden. Jace carried the weak mother in his arms. Her body light like a feather, the girl grabbed her broken toys, holding them close as if they gave her courage. They slipped out the back of the storage room, just as the armored guards kicked open the front door. The loud crash echoed through the tunnels. Jace moved fast but careful, protecting the woman with his body. Every echo of footsteps behind them made his heart beat faster. The girl guided them through narrow paths, broken pipes, and low tunnels, breathing hard from fear and running. When they reached a dark ventilation shaft, the girl pointed up. The cargo lift is above. Please hurry. Jace tightened his grip on the mother and climbed, using his remaining strength, his muscles burning, behind them. The guards' voices grew louder. Find the woman. She knows too much. Don't let the child escape. Jace felt anger rise. How could they hunt a sick mother and a little girl like this? When they finally reached the top of the shaft, the girl pushed open an old metal hatch, revealing a dusty and forgotten room with a rusty cargo lift in the center. Jace gently laid the mother down on a pile of old cloth. The girl held her hand tightly, crying softly. Jace looked at both of them and made a silent promise. He would protect them, no matter what came next. This was no longer just a simple act of kindness. It was the beginning of a fight he never expected. The old cargo room was silent except for the mother's weak breathing. Dust floated in the air, and the old lift cables creaked softly whenever the wind passed through the broken vents. Jace stood near the door, listening carefully for any sound from the tunnels below. His hands were shaking, not from fear, but from the heavy responsibility now placed on him. The little alien girl sat beside her mother, wiping her forehead with a piece of cloth. Mama, please wake up. Please, she whispered, her voice full of pain. Jace looked at the mother again. Her breathing was worse than before. Her eyes half open but unfocused. She needed real help. But the more he thought about taking her to the clinic, the more he remembered the girl's warning. They want her gone. Suddenly, a metallic thud echoed from the vent below them. A slow, heavy sound, like metal boots landing on steel. Jace's heart froze for a moment. Someone is here, he whispered. The girl's eyes widened. She clutched her toys tightly, fear returning to her small shaking hands. Is it the guards? Jace shook his head slowly, listening again. This time the footsteps were slower, heavier, more deliberate. Not like the marching of common security forces. This was different. This was someone hunting, not searching. Then he heard a voice, cold and mechanical, echoing through the lower tunnel. Target scent detected. Life signatures match. Continue scan, the girl gasped. No, it's him. The hunter. Jace felt his stomach drop. Hunter? What hunter? The girl hugged her knees, her voice trembling. They hired a bounty hunter. He's not like guards. He will not stop. He will not leave. He wants the reward. Jace peeked through a crack in the metal wall. What he saw made his breath catch. A tall alien figure walked through the tunnel, wearing thick dark armor covered with glowing red symbols. His helmet had a single red eye in the center, scanning the walls with slow precision. He carried a long weapon that hummed with dangerous energy. This was no ordinary hunter. This was a professional, a killer. The mother weakly whispered something, her lips barely moving. Don't let him take her. Jace felt a surge of anger and determination rise inside him. He didn't know who this hunter was or why he wanted them. But he knew one thing. He would not let the girl or her mother be taken. He turned to the girl. Listen to me. We need to stay quiet. Don't move unless I tell you. The girl nodded quickly, tears forming but courage showing in her small face. She crawled beside her mother and held her tightly. Below them, the hunter scanned the area again. Trace level rising. They are close. Jace felt sweat trickle down his back. They needed a plan, any plan. He noticed an old toolbox near the lift. Inside it he found loose wires, a broken wrench, a metal pipe, and a few old sparks rods used for welding. Not real weapons, but better than nothing. The hunter climbed the first ladder slowly, each metallic step echoing like a countdown. Jace's pulse quickened. The room felt smaller. The air felt thinner. The girl whispered, "He can smell fear." "That's what they told us. We must stay calm." Jace took a long breath. Gripping the metal pipe tightly, "I'm trying," he whispered back. The hunter reached the top of the ladder and paused. The red eye scanned the room. 3 life forms detected. Obstruction present. Override door. A loud hiss filled the room as the old cargo door began to unlock on its own. Rusty gears turning after years of silence. The girl covered her ears. Her mother weakly opened her eyes. Jace moved in front of them both, standing like a shield. The door slid open halfway before getting stuck. Sparks flying as the old machinery fought against the override, but it was open enough for danger to enter. The hunter stepped forward, crouched, and forced the door wider. Metal scraping loudly, he scanned the room again. There was no escape. Jace felt fear squeeze his chest. But he didn't move back. He stood tall, gripping the pipe. "Leave them alone," he said, his voice strong despite the shaking. The hunter tilted his head. Human interference detected. Threat level minimal. "Remove." He raised his weapon, the energy core glowing bright. Preparing to fire, the girl screamed, "No!" Before the shot released, Jace grabbed a spark rod from the floor and threw it toward the lift cables. The rod hit the old wiring, creating a burst of bright white sparks. The entire room flashed, blinding the hunter for a second. Jace didn't waste a moment. He rushed forward and slammed the metal pipe into the hunter's arm. The weapon shot upward, blasting a hole into the ceiling instead of the room. The explosion shook the entire structure. Dust raining down like ash, the hunter stumbled but did not fall. He turned his red eye toward Jace. "Human, you are making a mistake." Jace raised the pipe again, blood pounding in his ears. "Then I'll make it again." The hunter charged toward him, the room shaking from the impact. The girl screamed. The mother reached out weakly. The fight had begun, and Jace knew this was only the start of something far more dangerous than he had imagined. The room shook as Jace and the hunter struggled. Metal crashed against metal, sparks flew, and the old cargo lift groaned like it was about to collapse. Jace's muscles burned. His breath came out in painful gasps. But he refused to step back. He refused to let the hunter reach the girl and her mother. The hunter pushed him with one heavy strike, sending Jace stumbling into a crate. Pain burst in his shoulder, but he forced himself up again. Gripping the bent metal pipe with both hands, the hunter's red eye glowed brighter. "Focusing. You are delaying the inevitable." "Human." Jace spat blood from his lip and answered, "Good. I like delays." Before the hunter could move, the cargo lift suddenly jerked as if something heavy hit it from below. The old cables moaned loudly, the floor trembled. Dust rained down like gray snow. The hunter paused and looked up, analyzing the vibration. Structural integrity unstable. Retreat recommended. But before he could escape, the lift room shook again, this time harder. A metal beam near the ceiling cracked and fell between Jace and the hunter with a deafening clang. The hunter took 2 steps back, recalculating, then aimed his weapon again. But the room continued shaking, the old machinery failing under the strain. Jace used a distraction, grabbed the girl's arm, and shouted, "We need to move her now." The girl nodded quickly, tears still glistening on her cheeks. She grabbed her mother's fragile wrist while Jace lifted her from the shoulders. The mother's body was burning with fever. Light as a dying flame, the hunter tried to follow. But the falling beams forced him to pause. his red eye scanning the unstable ceiling. Target escape probability increased. Adjusting pursuit path. Jace and the girl hurried through a small maintenance tunnel behind the lift. The mother weakly breathing in Jace's arms. The girl kept whispering, "Please don't die, Mama. Please stay with us." The mother opened her eyes slightly, her voice shallow. "My child. You must tell him. He deserves to know." The girl froze, shaking her head. "No, Mama, now." "Please," Jace frowned, but there was no time to ask. They reached the end of the tunnel, where an old loading platform led to another abandoned warehouse. He placed the mother gently on a pile of dusty sheets. The girl knelt beside her, holding her hand for a moment. Only the mother's weak breaths filled the silence. Jace leaned against the wall, catching his breath, his arms aching, his mind racing. "Why? Why are they doing all this just to kill you?" He finally asked, his voice low but urgent. "You said she saw something she shouldn't. But what was it? What did your mother see?" The girl lowered her head, her hands tightening around the mother's fingers. She looked so small, so lost, but something inside her shifted. A heavy secret pressing on her heart. She took a long shaky breath, then whispered, "My mother is not just a miner." Jace waited, the tension thick in the air. The girl continued, her voice trembling. "She was a memory reader, a rare telepath in our species. She can see truth when people lie. She can see things people try to hide." Jace felt the weight of her words hit him. He suddenly understood why powerful people wanted her gone. The girl wiped her tears, her voice growing stronger. "One day, the mine supervisor came with a man from the corporation. They were talking about something wrong. My mother was nearby. She heard it. She saw it in their minds." "What did she see?" Jace asked again, feeling the sharp edge of fear grow inside him. The girl looked at him with eyes too old for her age, eyes that had seen too much pain. "They planned to collapse the mine, human. They planned to hide something underground and kill everyone inside to keep the secret buried." Jace's chest tightened. Hundreds of miners worked in that place every day. They were tired, poor, desperate people, and the corporation wanted to bury them alive. "My mother tried to warn the workers," the girl continued, her voice breaking, "but the corporation found out. They said she is a threat. They sent guards to take her. We ran. And we have been hiding since." Jay sat down slowly, his hands trembling. The room felt colder now, heavier with the truth he had just heard. The girl looked at him again, this time with fear and guilt mixed. "I didn't tell you before because I was scared. If you knew the truth, maybe you would leave us." Jay stared at her, surprised. "Leave you? After all this? After everything I've seen?" The girl's eyes filled with tears. "Humans don't help people like us. Not usually." Jay shook his head and placed his hand gently on her shoulder. "Little one, you came to me begging for help, shaking, crying, holding your toys. And I knew that I could never walk away." The girl finally cried openly, leaning forward, her small body shaking with silent sobs. The mother reached out weakly and touched Jace's arm. "Thank you for believing her," before Jace could answer. A loud metallic crash echoed from the tunnel behind them. The hunter had found their trail. And he was coming. Jace stood up slowly, his jaw tightening, the fear in his chest turning into something sharper. Determination. He turned to the girl and the mother. "No more running," he whispered. "This ends tonight." The warehouse was silent for only a moment. A short breath of calm before the storm. Dust floated in the air like tiny ghosts, and the dim yellow lights flickered weakly as if they were scared too. Jay stood near the cracked doorway, every muscle tense, listening to the faint metallic steps echoing through the tunnels behind them. The hunter was coming. He was slow, steady, patient. He moved like someone who knew he would win eventually. Someone who never rushed the kill, Jace glanced at the little girl and her mother. The girl held her mother's hand tightly, trying hard not to cry as she listened too. Her small shoulders trembling, but her eyes shining with desperate courage. The mother whispered, her voice a fragile breath, "Jace, leave us, you still have time. Save yourself." Jace shook his head immediately, anger rising in his chest. "I don't leave people behind," he said. His voice low and steady. Not anymore. He didn't know why he said anymore. Maybe it was something from his past. A mistake, a regret. But the girl heard it and held his arm lightly as if saying thank you without words. A loud metallic slam echoed through the tunnel. The hunter had reached the loading platform. Life signatures detected. Obstacle distance 24 meters. Advancing, Jace took a deep breath, then another. He walked to a pile of broken machinery and picked up a long metal rod. Heavier than the pipe he used earlier, his arms trembled under the weight, but he held it tight. His jaw clenched. The girl whispered, "Human. Please be careful." Jace turned and gave her a small smile. "Tired but warm. I'll try." Then he looked at the mother, seeing her eyes half open, full of pain and fear. She didn't deserve this. None of them did. And that was when Jace made the decision. A dangerous, reckless, impossible decision. He was going to stop the hunter himself, even if it killed him. He moved to the center of the warehouse, standing between the family and the direction the hunter would come from. The floor was cracked, the shadows long, the silence heavy. Then the doorway shook, metal bending as the hunter forced it open with sheer strength. Sparks showered the floor. The girl gasped. The mother tried to sit up but collapsed again. The hunter stepped inside, tall and terrifying. His armor glowing with red symbols, his single red eye scanning the room. "Target sighted," he said in that cold metallic voice. Jace tightened his grip on the metal rod. "If you want them," he said, "you have to go through me." The hunter tilted his head, as if studying a strange creature, human bravery detected. Statistically meaningless, Jace didn't wait for him to attack. He charged, swinging the heavy rod with all his strength. The metal hit the hunter's armor with a loud clang, the force of the hit sending vibrations up Jace's arms. Nearly making him drop the weapon, the hunter barely moved. That was unwise. He swung his arm, knocking Jace backward into a stack of crates. Wood splintered, dust clouded the air. Pain shot through Jace's back, but he forced himself up again. Coughing hard, the girl cried out, "No! Please stop!" The hunter ignored her, slowly raising his weapon. Glowing with a deadly blue light, "Terminate interference." Jace stumbled to his feet. Dizzy but still standing, he grabbed the metal rod again. His hands shaking, his breath uneven, but his eyes steady. "You're not touching them." Before the hunter could fire, Jace threw the rod at the overhead lights. The metal smashed the bulb, plunging the room into sudden darkness. Sparks flashed, shadows danced. The hunter's red eye became the only bright thing in the room, visibility compromised. Switching to thermal, Jace used the darkness to his advantage. Grabbing a loose cable from the floor and swinging it around one of the support pillars, he pulled hard, bringing down a section of metal pipes from above. The pipes crashed onto the hunter's back, causing him to stumble forward. Sparks flying from his armor, the girl gasped. Hope lighting her eyes for a moment, Jace grabbed a heavy wrench and struck the hunter again. Hitting one of the exposed joints near the shoulder, the hunter jerked back, his red eye flashing in warning. Damage detected. Adjust in combat protocol. He grabbed Jace by the collar and lifted him off the ground. Jace kicked and struggled, his vision blurring as the hunter's grip tightened around his neck. Human resistance. Ineffective, the girl screamed, standing up even though she was terrified. "Leave him alone." The hunter turned slightly, analyzing her voice. "Target priority remains the mother. But child must be captured." Hearing that, something inside Jace snapped. A fire rose in his chest. Stronger than fear, stronger than pain. He grabbed the wires hanging from the hunter's armor and pulled with all his strength. Sparks exploded out of the panel. The hunter jerked violently, dropping Jace to the ground. Jace fell hard, coughing, gasping for air. But he forced himself up once more, using the last of his strength. He grabbed a broken metal plate and slammed it into the damaged joint again. The hunter staggered, falling to one knee for the first time. The hunter's voice flickered. System unstable. Recalibrating. Jace stepped between the hunter and the family. Blood running down his cheek, breathing like he had fire in his lungs. "You're not taking them," he whispered. "Not tonight." The hunter slowly stood back up. His red eye burning bright again. The fight was far from over. But Jace had shown something powerful. He wasn't a warrior. He wasn't trained. He wasn't armed. He was just a human, and he refused to break. The warehouse still trembled from the fight, dust floating in the air like drifting ash. Jace stood between the hunter and the little family. Sweat dripping from his forehead, blood running from a cut on his cheek. His chest rising and falling in painful gasps. The hunter's armor sparked where Jace had damaged it. Small blue lightning flickered along its joints. But the machine-like creature still stood tall, still ready to kill. "System recalibrating," the hunter said in a distorted, glitching voice. Threat assessment increased. Human now classified as primary obstacle. Jace tightened his fists, even though they felt so weak. "Good. Then focus on me," he whispered, behind him. The girl cried softly as she held her mother's hand, her small body shaking. "Mama, please stay awake. Please." The mother lay motionless for a long, terrifying moment. Her breathing shallow, her skin pale, her pulse faint like a dying star. Jace feared she was slipping away for good. But then, slowly, painfully, her eyes opened, not wide, not strong, but open, and something in them had changed. There was awareness, understanding, and something deeper, something powerful. The girl gasped, "Mama? Mama, you're awake." The mother turned her head slightly, her eyes landing first on her daughter, then on Jace, then finally on the hunter, her face pale but her gaze sharp like a blade cutting through fog. She whispered a single word, "Enough." The hunter froze, its red eye flickering as if something invisible pressed against it. Unidentified psychic interference. Recalibrating. Jace's eyes widened. He turned to the girl. Is this your mother's ability?" The girl nodded, wiping her tears with shaky hands. "Yes. She can reach inside minds. She can see. She can push. She can break lies. But only when she has strength." Jace watched in disbelief as the weak woman slowly rose, not fully sitting, but lifting her head and shoulders using strength that seemed impossible for someone so close to death. She looked at the hunter with a calm, cold expression. "You hurt my child," she whispered. "You hunted us like animals. You tried to bury truth." The hunter's body jerked violently as if invisible chains pulled it from every direction. Warning. Cognitive disruption detected. Initiating countermeasures. But the mother continued, her voice steady, her eyes glowing faintly with a soft blue light. "I saw into your master's minds. I saw their fear, their greed, their plan to collapse the mine and bury hundreds alive." Jace stepped beside her. "Is it true? All of it?" The mother turned to him, her expression softening. "Yes, Jace. They want everyone quiet, forever. They want the mine sealed so no one finds the illegal crystal extraction hidden below." Jace felt anger rise like fire in his chest. "So they were going to kill all those workers just to hide their crimes?" The mother nodded weakly. "And they wanted me dead because I knew." The hunter suddenly broke free from her mental grip. Stumbling but recovering. Target retains dangerous psychic capability. Neutralization required. He raised his weapon again. The blue light growing brighter, preparing to fire a deadly blast. Jace stepped forward without thinking, spreading his arms as if he could shield the mother and child with his own body. "You'll have to go through me first," he said. His voice raw but fearless, but the mother's hands slowly rose, her fingers trembling. "No. Jace," she whispered, "you have done enough. Now let me protect my child. And you." A soft blue aura expanded from her hand, not bright, not violent, but steady like a calm tide pushing outward. The hunter aimed. The blue light fired. But before it reached Jace, the aura hit him like a warm wind. Pushing him gently backward toward the girl, the hunter fired. The energy blast shot forward like lightning. But the blue aura split it apart in midair, scattering it into harmless sparks that faded like dying stars. The hunter's eye flickered again. Alert. Psychic shield detected. Recalibration failed. Retreat recommended. But the mother wasn't finished. She lifted her head higher, her voice now stronger. "You will not touch my child again." The aura around her hand expanded. Wrapping around the hunter like glowing threads, the machine staggered, its armor denting inward as if an invisible force crushed down on it. Jace watched in awe as the hunter dropped to one knee. Then both. The mother whispered the final command. "Sleep." The hunter's systems flickered violently. Sparks flew, and the red eye dimmed until only darkness remained. The metal giant collapsed to the ground with a heavy crash. Silence filled the warehouse. A deep, breathtaking silence. The girl rushed to her mother, crying tears of relief. "Mama, you saved us." The mother smiled weakly, her strength fading again, the blue glow leaving her eyes as she collapsed against the blankets. Jace caught her before she fell completely. "Easy, easy. Don't push yourself," she whispered, her voice fading. "You must warn the miners. You must save them." Before the collapse, her eyes closed slowly. Her breathing soft but steady. She wasn't dead. She was exhausted. Drained, but alive. Jace looked at the girl, then at the hunter's fallen body. He knew what he had to do next. A dangerous mission, a near impossible one. But he had no choice now. This wasn't just about helping one child anymore. It was about saving hundreds. It was about exposing the truth. And Jace Rowan, tired mechanic, simple human, was the only one left standing to do it. Silence filled the warehouse after the hunter collapsed, thick and heavy like a blanket dropping across the floor. Smoke curled from the hunter's broken armor. The dim lights flickered, and the air tasted of metal and dust. Jace stood there for a moment, breathing hard, staring at the still body of the machine that had hunted the mother and child. Part of him could hardly believe he was still alive. Another part knew the danger was far from over. The little girl wrapped her arms around her unconscious mother, whispering, "Mama, please wake up again. Please," her voice trembling with fear and hope. Jace walked to her and knelt down beside them. "She will. She just used all her power. She needs time to recover." The girl nodded and wiped her tears with the back of her hand, then looked up at him with wide, shining eyes. "Human, what do we do now?" Jace looked toward the broken doorway, the darkness behind it, the tunnels where guards and hunters could return any moment. He knew what he had to do, even if it scared him. "We go public," he said, his voice steady. "We tell everyone the truth," the girl gasped softly. "But the corporation will kill you. They will kill all of us." Jace shook his head, determination sharpening his eyes. "Maybe. But if we say nothing, hundreds of miners will die in that collapse. Your mother risked everything to stop them. I won't let her fight alone." He stood up, walked to the center of the warehouse, and searched through old equipment until he found what he needed. A dusty emergency transmitter, half broken but still functional, connected to the moon's internal communication lines, used only during disasters. A collapse would certainly qualify, a cover-up even more. Jace wiped his bloody hands on his shirt, and started repairing the transmitter. Twisting wires, tightening bolts, securing loose circuits. His engineer's brain working faster than his tired body. Every second mattered, every heartbeat counted. Behind him, the girl whispered softly to her mother, holding her hand close, "Human is helping us, Mama. He is brave, he is kind. He is not like the others." Jace heard her words but didn't turn. He focused on his task, refusing to let fear slow him down. After several tense minutes, the transmitter hummed to life, the screen flickering, the signal light blinking weakly. Jace pressed a button, cleared his throat, and spoke into the microphone. "This is Jace Rowan, a mechanic on the moon. This message is for every miner, every worker, every family." His voice echoed through the old speakers around him. Bouncing off metal walls, he continued, "The corporation is planning to collapse the mine. They want to bury the illegal operation they hide beneath the tunnels. And they are willing to bury all of you with it." He paused, letting the weight of his words travel. "They hunted a mother who discovered the truth. They sent guards and a killer after a child." He looked at the girl as he spoke, her eyes wet but hopeful. "But we fought back. And now you all need to know the truth before it's too late." He pressed another switch, sending the broadcast across the entire moon. Warning alarms in mining camps began to ring as workers stopped what they were doing. Supervisors froze, screens flashed with Jace's message. The truth spread like fire on dry ground, swift and impossible to stop. Jace ended the message with one final line: "Stand together. Protect each other. Don't let them bury you." As he released the switch, he stepped back, heart pounding, sweat dripping, the transmitter crackling softly. The girl ran to him and hugged him tightly around the waist. "Thank you, human. Thank you." Jace gently placed a hand on her head. "We're not done yet. People will come looking for us." Before he could finish speaking, the sound of shouting echoed outside, dozens of voices, not angry, united. Workers were gathering, storming the tunnels, refusing to return to the mines, demanding answers. And behind them, a large group of injured miners approached with makeshift stretchers. "We got your message," one of them said. "Where is the woman who warned us?" Jace pointed to the girl and her mother. The workers looked at the little alien child and bowed their heads in respect. Her mother had saved their lives. Jace had given them the courage to stand up. Two medics rushed in, lifting the mother carefully, checking her condition. "She's weak but alive," one said. "We will treat her. She will recover." The girl cried tears of relief, holding Jace's hand tightly. "You saved Mama." "And everyone else," she whispered. Jace knelt to her level. "No. We saved them," he said, giving her a warm smile. "Your mother spoke the truth. You were brave. I just helped." The medics carried the mother out. The miners surrounded the girl and Jace, guiding them toward safety. The moon was changing. Whispers spread across the colony about the telepath who risked her life, about the little girl who begged a human for help, about the mechanic who fought a hunter alone and exposed the truth. Jace looked at the girl beside him, her small hand holding his firmly. She smiled and whispered, "Human, you are family now." Jace felt something warm rise in his chest, something stronger than fear, stronger than pain. He squeezed her hand gently. "Yeah, family," he said together. They stepped into the light of a new dawn, a human, an alien mother, and a brave little girl with shaking hands. 3 lives changed forever, and an entire moon saved because one human refused to walk away.